as some of you have individually reached me for the individual assignment, so I decided to make a video to teach you how to approach this individual assignment. So what you can do now is to write a little bit on the introduction section. In this section, you have to tell me the benefits of urban trees. What could the benefits be? Let's say they can cool down our city. They can reduce the burden on our urban drainage system. They can also insulate noise from the urban vehicles. There are lots of benefits, and please name them and remember to cite the relevant studies, academic studies, on these benefits of urban trees. Unfortunately, there could be defects and disorders of our urban trees, and these defects and disorders will reduce the provision of these benefits. And that's why we need to constantly assess those trees. We want to make sure that our trees are healthy and strong. That's why we need tree risk assessment. TRA stands for tree risk assessment. And for this assignment, you can only do it visually using your naked eyes. But that is not a big deal, because many people do that. Even the professionals use their naked eyes to assess the vigor and physical conditions of the trees. And many of you are interested in how to carry out the tree risk assessment actually. First, you have to have a target location. So tell me where you will go to, or where you would like to go for a tree risk assessment. You can go to a green belt, an urban park, or some roadside tree habitats. It's up to you. It's on your call. So as long as you give me reasons and justifications, it's okay. And then when you arrived on that particular location, you have to choose 2 urban trees. Some people may ask me whether this report whether the word limit of this report is for 2 trees or 1 tree. Let me make it clear. You have to write about the 2 trees or 2 trees within the word limit. So the word limit is for 2 trees. And then when you make your choice of the 2 urban trees, please give me sufficient justification. You cannot just say that I choose those 2 trees by chance or randomly. Perhaps you, let's say, for example, if it is in a park, in an urban park, you can say that you walked in the urban park for 1 to 2 times, and then you observe the basic conditions of the trees there, and you find 2 particularly interesting trees which may have defects and disorders. Perhaps their branches are not healthy, or there are some damages on their trunk. So that would be your reason for the choice of the 2 trees in your assignment. And then you have to measure those two trees. You can measure their diameter at breast height. Breast height means 1.3 meter from ground surface. And you run a tape measure around the diameter at that height. That would be DBH. And somebody asked me whether we can use mobile phone apps like AR tools. Is it right? AR tools? Because you cannot directly measure the overall height of the whole tree. And then you may have to make approximation. Let's say you have a tree here. You do not know the height of the tree, but you want to know it. How do you do? Let's say you observe an object nearby. Perhaps it could be a lamppost. And you know, those features have a standard height. Let's say it is 3 meter tall. And then you can take a photo, or you can approximate the height of the tree in the field condition. Let's say you make an informed guess that the tree is 2 times the height of this object. So 3 meter plus 3 meter, that would make 6 meter. So you use approximation for tackling tree height. Other than tree height, you can also you can go further by measuring the crown radius. Why do you need all these measurements? Because if a tree is weak in a particular part, you will want to know how big, how large, or how heavy that part is. So to make an educated guess about the possible consequences of the failure of the part. Let's say if a tree is tall and it is risky, it will have a higher hazard level than a tree that is shorter and smaller. That is how you will utilize these measurements. And apart from these physical measurements, you will have to conduct a tree risk assessment with something called Form 2. And this Form 2 has been put out by the Development Bureau, by the Tree Management Office. And using this Form 2, you can assess a tree, and you can this Form 2 can help you identify the type of possible compromises on a tree. For example, tree cavity or fungal infection. There are many options, and there is a long list. So use that Form 2. And when you finish filling in the Form 2 for the 2 trees, make sure that you scan or take a photo of the finished forms and put them in the appendices. Do not insert these 2 forms as figures. That is wrong, okay? And you have gathered the measurements and the tree risk assessment results. And remember to take a lot of photographs of the tree itself and the area or the environment around the tree. So that would be useful for the writing of this part, the results. You have to present the measurements of the two trees. How big they are, how tall they are, and how wide they are, how much space they occupy, and so on. Okay, as long as you can present, it is okay. Some students ask me whether they should use a table or some charts to present these numerical figures. My answer is no. It is because there are only two trees, and then the sample size is quite small. You can just use text to present them. But if you want to enrich your presentation, I suggest that you can use some photographs as figures. And please explain them and refer to them in your text. Okay? I do not want some standalone photographs without any explanations. That would seriously and negatively affect the content of your report. And finally, in the result, please give me a hazard rating for each tree. Hazard. What is hazard? It refers to the likelihood of a tree part to fail. Let's say a branch or even the whole tree. If there are more and greater magnitude of the defects and disorders, the tree is more likely to fail. And apart from the likelihood to fail, are there any potential targets nearby? Is the site frequently used by pedestrians? Are there many vehicles passing by? All these are important factors controlling the consequences of the hazard. If there are no targets nearby, even if the tree fell, it would be safe because no one is hurt, no properties are damaged. And then you can also take some photographs of the nearby environment. I mean the environment surrounding the tree. So it would be helpful to your hazard assessment. And then in the discussion, you can tell me or you can guess the causes of the defects and disorders. You can look at the surrounding environment of the tree. Remember, a tree needs sunlight, water, and nutrients to grow. So you can investigate the shading imposed by artificial structures nearby. You can assess the drainage condition. You can also look into the soil to see if the soil can supply enough nutrients to the trees. So, give me the potential causes of the defects and disorders. And then imagine that if you were a tree manager, what will be your management actions? How will you manage those two trees? Will you arrange more frequent inspection? Will you arrange follow-up inspection? Or what techniques will you use to reveal more information about the defects and disorders of those two trees? What will be your actions? Give me your prescribed actions with sufficient reasons. And then finally, the conclusion would be a brief recap of what you will have done in the whole assignment. And then references. Okay, you can include all sorts of academic studies, newspaper, government reports, or databases, as long as those information is relevant to your assessment. And then finally, the appendices, which will be the completed Form 2. Okay, so this is the whole structure of your individual assignment, and I hope you can start thinking about it, and you can print the Form 2 and then fill that out during your field visit to the two trees. And then after you gather all those data, take a look at them first, and then rearrange those data and see if you can find any interesting findings in your data. Okay, so this is the end of this video. I hope you can have a better picture of what is going on in your assignment.